Hey, what's going on everybody, and welcome back to the Whiskey Cove. If I had $25, $50, $75, or $100, these are 4 different whiskeys that I would buy if I walked into a liquor store. Run the video. All right then folks, thank you for joining us for another new and exciting episode here on the Whiskey Cove, where we delve into 4 different bottles that belong in the different price categories from $25, $50, $75, and $100. So if I walked into a liquor store, these are the bottles. If I were to buy one bottle, I would hand select these bottles. So we'll talk a little bit about each one. We'll talk a little bit about why I selected them. So these bottles aren't allocated. There's not much hype maybe attached to them. And ones are bottles that you should be able to find. The pricing categories are around the prices that I see in Colorado, but please give me a little bit of leeway. $10 or so each way. It might be a little different from where you're at, depending on the state. So let's delve headfirst into these bottles. And bottle number 1. So this is usually where I bring out early times and I say how fantastic this bottle of whiskey is and how good it is. However, they have changed some stuff with early times of late. I haven't got the new bottle to be able to try it, so I didn't want to recommend that bottle, but I went with something equally as good, and that is Evan Williams 1783. So if you're one of the folks out there who have tried Evan Williams 100 or bottle it on the white label, you'll know it's pretty good. So this is like that, but even better. With just a few dollars more, you get a fantastic and complete small batch whiskey. What is the small batch when it comes to these macro distilleries? You can only guess an estimate, but I would like to think 100 barrels or less, but we don't really know the answer. Is it a marketing gimmick? Potentially, but you know, how many barrels can you really dump into a mixture in one day? So the ABV and proof on this is going to be 90 proof or 45% ABV. I was thinking about going for Old Forester 100, which is also a readily available bottle, but then I went with this because sometimes Old Forester 100 is closer to the $30 mark here in Colorado, where this guy really sits between $17 and $24. So a little below the price category of $25. So if I only had $25 US to spend on a bottle of whiskey and I went into the store, this is the bottle that I would be looking for. It has a lot of like candied strawberries and sugar coated on top. It's a fantastic tasting whiskey, but it has a really nice refreshing oak backbone throughout it as well. It might be a little bit lower ABV and lower proof for some of you out there, but if you want a really good tasting whiskey, I don't think you're going to be able to find much more than this within the price category. I think that for 45% ABV or 90 proof, it kind of feels like, to me personally, it drinks a shade above that. So it kind of almost gets to that 100 proof without actually being it, because it has that really nice oak backbone. It's approachable, neat, it's good in a cocktail, it's very multifunctional, and a fantastic whiskey for the price point of $25. Next up, and this bottle I know for a fact in some states is a little bit more in price. Of late, during the kind of back end of the whiskey boom, people would mark this bottle up a little bit, but you can find it for $50 to maybe $60, and it's a fantastic bottle. That is, of course, Wild Turkey Rare Breed. So Wild Turkey Rare Breed is a bottle that is one of the cornerstones of the bourbon market. It's probably one bottle that where you see findable bottle lists on the internet, although it's my top 10 bourbons of all time, usually finds a place on most people's lists. It does have a more spicy profile to it. That comes from a lot of the bacon spice type feels in it, that clove and cinnamon is all in there as well. So if you want something that's maybe more sweet and more approachable, if you like that more rounded palate, then the Evan Williams is probably still going to be your choice. But around the $50 price category, if you want maybe a more complete bourbon that has the wood presence, that has the caramel, and then also on top of that blends in some of the spices really well, then Rare Breed is a perfect sipper for that. The ABV and proof on this does kick up a little bit, and we're going to go into decimal points here because this is 58.4% ABV by volume, or it's going to be 106 point, my eyes are defeating me right now, 116.8 proof. So again, quite high up there in ABV. Barrel strength whiskey, yes. Cask strength, well, we don't know what the ABV of this whiskey comes out of the cask, but what we do know is a lot of what Wild Turkey and Russell's being a brand under the Wild Turkey umbrella, is they generally do sit, if you think of the Russell's 15, the 13, they do sit within that ABV. And they also do the Russell single barrel, which generally sits mostly all the time, I should say, say, sits at 55% ABV or 110 proof. So that kind of would lead you to believe that's kind of close to the cask strength, but the ABV and cask and proof on this is always the same. So there's probably some blending components there and some dilution just to bring it down and standardize the flavors across the rare breed bottles. Yes, as I said, if I had $50 and I could find this for $50, it would be an automatic buy. If I'm going into the store and looking for a really good bottle of whiskey, and I know some states, some places, you're gonna be spending a little more than that, and that's because stores do like to mark this up. But if you go to like maybe Kentucky and Tennessee at some good, healthy, family-run stores, you will find this for closer to the $50 mark. And that's why this bottle makes that $50 bottle that I would find if I was to go into a liquor store, because you're never going to be let down with it. A fantastic addition to this list. So fourth bottle on this list, and we're going to play around here a little bit, but there's a method to the madness, and that is going to be the Maker's Mark Wood Finishing Series bottles. As you can see in front of you, you have the 2024 The Heart release, but there's been many different editions of the Wood Finishing Series, going back to RC19, or the license plate release, as some folks call it, because it's like a jumble of letters and numbers. And then that goes into the FAE 01 and 02 and the BRT 01 and 02 of BRT. BRT 02 was probably my favorite wood finishing series. The Heart release is fantastic too. They redesigned the bottle, they changed some stuff up, but you're still going to be sitting around that $75 mark. Even if you can't find 2024, get the 2025 release. If you can't find both of those, then look for the BRT 02 or 01, because they're equally as fantastic. They're a little bit different as well. So if you're someone who doesn't really like to spend $75 quite often on whiskey, I would say once a year, splurge that $75 on one of these bottles, because every year it's a little bit different. There's a different flavor profile to it, whether that's chocolate, whether that's caramel apple, whether that's toffee, whether that's a lot more wood presence, whether that's more of a toasted whiskey feel. Each unique offering offers something quite different than what the last one did, and it's done very, very well. So Maker's Mark doesn't traditionally do single barrels, as they rotate their warehouse and they generally have the same mash bill for all of their bottles. So how they impart different flavors onto this wood finishing series bottles is that they change the staves of the whiskey barrel that they dump some of the whiskey into after it's aged throughout the warehouse. So there's a couple of different staves that they use, and this specific bottle has 10 virgin toasted French oak staves. Where if you picked up a Maker's Mark, not single barrel, because it's not traditionally a single barrel, but a finished barrel, so to speak, there's a layer of different finishing staves in there, whether that's French mocha, whether it's brulee. There's a couple of different staves that they can use to, again, impart different flavors. So if I have $75, I'm going into the store, I'm looking for one of these bottles because they are fantastic value for money, and they offer a variety of great flavors throughout the years gone by. Plus you get an awesome wax bottle, and on top of that, I really like the new design. I really like the square bottles. They just fit a little better on the shelf, and I feel like they pop a little bit more. There's more of a minimalist design with the label. It's still traditional Maker's Mark colors, but a very good offering from Maker's Mark, and $75 excellently spent. And then lastly, we have a fantastic bourbon to talk about. So if I had $100, that golden ticket of $100, the $100 bill, and I was to go into a liquor store and I had to spend the $100 on one bottle and I could get this, I would be a very happy man. When this bottle was released, there was a couple of question marks around the pricing, because it kind of goes against the grain of some of the other whiskeys in this series. So folks didn't give it much of a chance before even anybody had tasted it. And I must say, I was one of those people. I couldn't quite understand the pricing on this, because it really fell out of line with the Whiskey Row series. So that should definitely lead some of you folks at home to know what this bottle is. However, we managed to purchase it. I paid a little over $100 the first time around, and the pricing for this bottle did sit $120, $130. But since they caught up with distribution, I feel like those prices have come down, and we're right at the $100 mark on this bottle, and that is of course Old Forester 1924. Old Forester 1924, 50% ABV or 100 proof, and it is 10 years of age. And unlike the Old Forester 1920 or 1897, that 10 years makes this a really special bottle. So you get all the great characteristics that you would get from Old Forester, like the toasted marshmallow, the barrel char notes, the sweet caramel notes there as well. This isn't a spicy bourbon. You're not going to get many bacon spice notes in here, but that 10-year age statement kind of replaces those spicy notes a little bit and really builds it up to be more of a well-rounded, complete bourbon. It kind of supports all those flavors in there. So when you first taste it, a lot of caramel sweetness hits your tongue, some vanillas there too. As you go through and as the whiskey's finishing up on your mouth, that woody note takes over and you get a little bit more of that new charred American oak smell and taste on it, and a little bit of dryness there. So you go on this really sweet journey that slowly mellows out. There you get a lot of oak tannins on the palate, and it's thick, it's viscous, it's very approachable. Like I said, the ABV is 50% ABV or 100 proof, so you can have it as a sipper. You can put it into a cocktail, which $100 bottle in a cocktail might not make sense for a lot of folks at home. But when you put it into a cocktail, some of the sweetness from the bottle obviously gels with the cocktail, but that wood presence shows right up in it. So when you take a sip of, say, like a whiskey sour, you get the really nice lemony, sweet upfront taste, and then as this kind of just sit in, that oak comes through and really rounds out an amazing craft cocktail like a whiskey sour, like an old fashioned. This is a fantastic whiskey, and like I said, prices have fluctuated, but multiple times I'd see people taking pictures, posting it of around $90 to $100. Again, your states will vary, so you'll have to take your time maybe looking for some of these bottles. If you live in like North Carolina, again, Utah is a very hard state to get stuff. Oregon, for example. If you live in Washington, the taxes are even more. So take some of these prices and just give it $10 or so each way. But four fantastic whiskeys for $25, the Evan Williams 1783 is just a little bit of a no-brainer right now. For around the $50 mark, we went with Wild Turkey Red Breed. Much like Rick Ashley, it's never going to let you down. It's a phenomenal bottle of whiskey, and it keeps hitting up to that standard year and year. At $75, the Maker's Mark wood finishing series. Every year is a little bit different, but all so well done, and it's a special looking bottle, and it has special flavors in there too. But if you have $100 and you really want to splurge, and you want your $100 to be very well spent, there are many times that folks talk on the internet, have discussions between whiskey groups and say, I spent $100 on this bottle of whiskey and it's not worth 40. The Dickel and Leopold collaboration, I'm looking at you. However, if you spend $100 on this bottle, you'll be very happy with your purchase. The people who you share this whiskey for will be equally as happy as well, and it will deserve a place on your shelf. And every time you look at it, you will think, I need to probably find another bottle because that was very special. So as we say on this channel, thank you so much as we drink through the world's whiskeys, one glass at a time. And if you had $25, $50, $75, or $100, what bottle would you choose? Let me know down in the comment section, and goodbye.